On his very first day in the military, this man was forced to take a personality assessment. Every new recruit has to fill out a form when they enlist. It includes information such as family income and educational background. But while he was filling out the questionnaire, the screen suddenly flickered. And the next second, when he opened them again, he had accidentally activated a master chef system.
환영합니다. 용사님.
뭐하냐?
방금 부르시지 않으셨습니까?
Everyone assumed he was just nervous. But when the test results came back, the entire room went silent. The system had flagged his personality as a Class S danger level, with his depression index and internet addiction index both off the charts. Everyone had been expecting a top-tier recruit. Instead, they got the complete opposite. He couldn't even measure up to an average soldier. The commanding officer pinned a smiley face badge on his chest and ordered him never to remove it without permission. That badge marked the lowest rank in the entire unit. Jack had no idea what it meant. When he went to check in with the female warden, a system registration screen suddenly appeared in the mirror. As he introduced himself, the system automatically logged his identity, staring at a dialog box that had materialized out of nowhere. Jack completely lost his train of thought. The warden followed his gaze and looked back, but there was nothing there. At lunchtime, the moment Jack walked into the mess hall, the soldiers spotted his smiley face badge and immediately started smirking. One soldier walked straight up and pressed the smiley button on his chest. When Jack didn't react, the soldier warned him, from now on, every time someone presses that button, no matter how terrible he feels, he better flash a smile immediately. Jack felt sick to his stomach. Just then, a man named Dong-hee walked into the mess hall, and the entire room went dead quiet. It was only in that moment that Jack understood what the real challenge was. Dong-hee was the only cook in the mess hall, and his food was absolutely terrible. But the man was built like a tank, so no one dared say a word to his face. Every single meal was torture for the whole unit. Everyone was waiting for Jack to slip up. One wrong look of disgust, and Dong-hee would make him regret it. Completely clueless, Jack shoveled a big spoonful of mashed potatoes into his mouth. His face twisted instantly. The guy next to him, Ju, quickly nudged him to hold it together and warned him that the real nightmare was the tofu soup. Jack's hand trembled as he lifted a spoonful to his lips, the moment it hit his tongue. He felt like he was sinking to the bottom of the ocean, trapped inside that bowl of tofu soup. No matter how hard he struggled, there was no way out. Being made to organize the warehouse is a form of punishment. The worst part was that he had to sort through all the items. Just as he was fretting, a prompt suddenly appeared before his eyes. This was his superpower. It was like entering a video game. The system would assign him various tasks. Completing tasks earned him experience points. Experience points could be used to level up, to help him level up quickly and smoothly. The system would also grant him all sorts of unexpected abilities. For example, when he needed to lift heavy objects, he received a boost in strength. At that very moment, a superior inspector suddenly paid a visit. They began a surprise inspection of the kitchen. Not only was Dong-hee's cooking terrible, but his cleaning standards were also subpar. The final stop was the warehouse. He thought he was completely finished for good, but the result surprised everyone. Jack not only completed the task, but did so entirely according to military standards. He arranged everything neatly, with pinpoint precision. After completing the task, he successfully leveled up. Only he could see all of this. Although it was only his first day in the army, he instantly became famous because of the warehouse incident. That night, while he was taking a shower, the system issued a new mission. As he was carrying it out, Yoon Dong-hee happened to see it. He was completely taken aback. At the end of each day's tasks, the system automatically saves progress. The recipe he had just obtained would soon make him famous once again. Coincidentally, today's menu was beef and kelp soup, but on his first day of enlistment, he unexpectedly activated a strongest chef system. Using the system, he made a simple bowl of kelp soup, but the moment the captain took a sip, his eyes widened in astonishment. It was as if he had been transported to heaven. He even saw a kelp fairy. But because perilla leaves had been added to the soup, the captain had an allergic reaction on the spot. Although the captain didn't blame Jack, the others were convinced he'd caused a major disaster. Jack was completely unaware of this. He successfully completed the first mission assigned by the system. After leveling up, the system not only unlocked new recipes, but also enabled a feature to check affinity levels. Red indicates dislike. The higher the number, the more they disliked Jack. Among them, the first sergeant had the lowest affinity for Jack. He believed Jack hadn't been careful enough when selecting ingredients, and had nearly killed the captain. Although the captain didn't hold him accountable, the first sergeant still decided to transfer Jack out of the kitchen. That evening, The first sergeant called Jack away under the pretext of a patrol. As a result, the kitchen cleanup fell entirely on Dong-hee's shoulders. Jack watched helplessly as Dong-hee's dislike for him climbed all the way to 7%. Just thinking about his future military life gave him a headache. The first lieutenant decided to transfer Jack, but he didn't enforce it immediately. Instead, he gave him some time to prepare. Just as the battalion commander announced the decision, a system prompt suddenly popped up. It required Jack to find a way to stay in the kitchen within 72 hours. He had to complete both the main quest and the side quest simultaneously. If he failed to finish within the time limit, he would completely lose his chance to become a legendary chef. After talking for a while, the squad leader was getting a bit hungry, so he went to the kitchen, hoping to have a bowl of instant noodles with an egg. Just as Dong-hee was about to crack an egg into the pot, Jack immediately stopped him.
계란이 상한 것 같아서 말입니다.
어제 들어왔는데 상하긴 왜 상해? 말 같지도 않은 소리를 하고 있어.
Jack used the chef's eye skill for the first time. He discovered that all the eggs in front of him were rotten. Dong-hee didn't believe it at all, and even mocked the recruit, asking what he knew. Saying this, he picked up an egg at random. Sure enough, it was rotten. Seeing this, Jack immediately opened the fridge and used chef's eye for the second time. Finally, among the spare eggs, he found a good one. The squad leader mistakenly thought Dong-hee had made the noodles. He kept praising him for his improved cooking skills. Dong-hee's dislike rating dropped to 20%. Jack grew increasingly excited about this chef system. Currently, only the first side quest was nearing completion, and there were only 47 hours left until the mission deadline. Jack realized he had to start racing against the clock. These potatoes had clearly sprouted, yet the South Korean military purchased them in bulk, and even though they were moldy, after the chef prepared them, they were served straight to the table. As a result, everyone took their first bite and was completely won over. Ever since Jack acquired the system, he has never failed at cooking, no matter how poor the ingredients. He can turn them into a delicious meal. He can handle sprouted potatoes. He can handle rotten onions, too. This time, the Pollock's fishy stench was too overpowering, giving him a real headache. To make matters worse, the person inspecting the unit's meals today was a member of the National Assembly. This assembly member was notorious for being unable to tolerate fishy-smelling food. To solve the problem, Jack summoned the system and obtained a pollock recipe. But then a problem arose. Frozen pollock is naturally fishy, and with its expiration date fast approaching, it was extremely difficult to work with. Following the system's instructions, Jack prepared a dish of deep-fried pollock. The texture improved, but the fishy smell remained.
비린내를 못 잡으면 군생활 끝나냐?
아닙니다.
그러면 뭔 수를 써서라도 비린내를 잡아!
Moreover, the system hadn't taught him how to remove the fishy odor. At the critical moment, he suddenly recalled his father's old method for preparing pollock, using tomato sauce to mask the fishy smell. As it happened, there was Italian tomato sauce in the warehouse. Trusting his father's method, Jack eventually created a dish of Italian tomato pollock, but using this system came at a cost. Jack's stamina was severely depleted, and he began to feel drowsy. When the mayor saw the pollock served at the table, he nearly lost his temper on the spot. Everyone knew that the councilman couldn't tolerate fishy-smelling food, but with reporters standing by, the councilman had no choice but to force himself to sit down. Before the councilman could even take a bite, Jack, completely drained of energy, collapsed right there in the kitchen. While unconscious, he entered a virtual space. He thought this was the system's core, but to his surprise, the person he encountered was his late father. Meanwhile, at the he took just one bite. It was a piece of fried fish made using a system cheat. The next second, his eyes widened in shock, and he shouted that someone was stealing his food. It turned out that in that split second, he had a delusion that someone had snatched his white rice. His exaggerated reaction left all the officers present speechless, skeptical yet curious. They all took a bite. The next second, everyone was completely won over by the fried fish. The rice was devoured at an astonishing speed. Just as Dong-hee was about to return to the kitchen for more rice, he suddenly noticed Jack lying unconscious on the floor. It turned out his stamina had been severely depleted. Forcing the system to shut down, Jack's consciousness was transported to a mysterious grassland. There, he saw a crow. Following the direction the crow flew, Jack encountered his long-deceased father. Just as the two exchanged a few words, the entire sky suddenly began to collapse. His father hurriedly warned him, "If you rely solely on the system's power and abuse your skills recklessly, you won't change anything in the end. Only by personally experiencing the pain of being cut by a knife or burned by fire can one truly grow." As the world collapsed at an ever-increasing pace, his father suddenly handed Jack a bowl of hot soup. After Jack drank it, the system immediately prompted resurrection kelp soup consumed. The system asked if he wanted to reconnect. The moment he pressed the confirm button, His depleted stamina was instantly restored. In reality, he opened his eyes. He had thought everything he'd just experienced was merely a dream, but when he turned his head, he found a raven's feather lying by the bed. Because of that fried fish dish, the captain personally presented Jack and Dong-hee with certificates of merit and rewarded them with a 5-day, 4-night vacation with just a single dish of pollock. Jack had successfully won over the congressman. The squad leader was very pleased, believing that all of this was thanks to the director. So he asked the director if there were any other issues that needed to be resolved. Unexpectedly, the director brought up the issue of poor troop rations. Moreover, he believed that the problem didn't lie entirely with the chefs, but rather with the food supply chain. Hearing this, Jack immediately recalled those rotten eggs from earlier and blurted out, the eggs were all rotten.
이런 문제가 있는데도 모르고 무슨 깡락으로 그렇게 자신만만했던 거야?
Seeing that the atmosphere had grown a bit awkward, the squad leader suggested hosting a dinner party. Before the dinner began, Park Seong-jae presented Jack with a rose-shaped knife. Unexpectedly, this knife accidentally unlocked the prop system, originally supposed to be Dong-hee's. But after the squad leader met Jack's fiancée, Mi-young-ah, he suddenly changed his mind and gave the leave to Jack instead. Dong-hee had been looking forward to this vacation for a long time, although he felt deeply resentful. He didn't dare disobey the squad leader's orders. In the end, he could only lie alone by the window, crying bitterly. Jack had 7 days of leave this time. He had originally planned to use the Master Chef system to boost his mother's food truck business, but what he didn't expect was that as soon as the food truck left the military zone, the system suddenly popped up a warning about skill restrictions. It was only then that Jack realized this ultimate cooking system could only be used near the base. Skills were restricted. He figured he was just going home to rest, so he wouldn't need the cooking system for the time being. This man wanted to prove he could cook, so he went out of his way to make a huge pot of bean sprout soup. He even tasted it beforehand and thought it tasted pretty good, but after the soldiers took their first sip, they all immediately ran out of the mess hall. The canteen, which had been empty, suddenly filled with people buying snacks. Because of that awful soup, Dong-hee completely lost it. He had thought that after Jack left, it would finally be his turn to shine, but he never expected the result to be so disastrous. This leave was a day. Meanwhile, Dong-hee, for some reason, suddenly started experimenting with stir-fried rice cakes, but his cooking style was quite rough. He didn't drain the moisture from the rice cakes before tossing them straight into the hot oil. As a result, the hot oil immediately spattered, and the rice cakes flew everywhere like bullets. His superior brought over a box of beef bones, sent by a congressman, but he planned to save this premium ingredient until Jack returned. Dong-hee said he wanted to try it himself, but the squad leader still wouldn't agree. Yet the more he was told not to do it, the more Dong-hee's defiance grew. Before Jack left, he asked Tae-jo to give Dong-hee the recipe notes he'd compiled. Dong-hee acted disgusted on the surface, saying he didn't want to look at them. But in reality, he was very curious. Throughout the entire cookbook, the 2 words that appeared most frequently were "put your heart into it." Dong-hee felt a sense of disdain. Isn't it just about putting your heart into it? What's so hard about that? With an attitude of putting my heart into it, Dong-hee turned the entire kitchen into a mess. When his superior pushed open the kitchen door, all he saw was Dong-hee with 2 dark circles under his eyes, and that pot of beef bones that was nearly boiled to pieces. That wasn't how things turned out. After his father passed away, his mother ran the food truck on her own. Because her stir-fried rice cakes were so terrible, business was very slow. As an outstanding cook in the military, Jack was confident he could help his mother solve the problem. After all, his superiors had always praised his culinary skills, but the reality was, without the help of the god of cooking system, he couldn't even perform basic tasks like chopping vegetables. He could only rely on instinct and experience. As a result, even his rice cakes turned out terrible. His mother pretended they were delicious, but in reality, she shut down the business immediately. That night, he began to reflect. Had all his achievements truly been achieved solely through the system? If that were the case, then the system was utterly useless, failing him at the most critical moment. At that moment, the system sensed his thoughts and gave him a hint. Only then did he learn that, according to the system's ranking, he was still just a beginner. Only by reaching the highest level could he use his skills outside the military base. Only then could he go home and help his mother improve her business. So how was he supposed to make delicious rice cakes now, since the system was of no use? Jack began searching for the notes his father had left behind. Through his father's notes, he learned how to select rice cakes and how to judge the freshness of vegetables. Although progress was slow, with dedication, he could still create delicious food. The flavor had improved this time, but Jack remembered clearly that his father's rice cakes had a special sweetness, but he had no idea where that sweetness came from. His classmate Minjia, upon learning he was on leave, asked him out. She had planned to treat him to fried chicken, But along the way, Jack spotted a bustling rice cake shop. After waiting in line for 2 hours, the two finally got to eat. That incredibly popular spicy stir-fried rice cake was exactly the flavor he had been searching for. When this man made Korean spicy rice cakes, he added Chinese persimmons. As a result, his mother and sister were completely shocked after tasting it. With his help, his mother's previously struggling business was suddenly packed with customers.